What's up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the Gold Rush Weekly Watch List. We're going to go through this as quickly as possible so you can have the rest of your Sunday evening. Let's see. Let's go through very quickly the economic calendar. The biggest event, we have an event coming up for NVIDIA in the next couple of weeks. Earnings for this week, some pretty interesting names. We got Domino's, we got Fiserv, we got Zoom, we got Workday. What else? What else? Just looking through some of the names. We got Mara, Snow, CRM, Unity, AMC, Zscaler, AI, SoundHound, FSLR, LI, Plug, Fisker, Okta, Baidu. Oh wow! So a lot of the names that are on my list for this week. Interestingly enough, BYND. Who else? BBY, another one that I have on my list this week. So, so it's going to be interesting this week. So let's go over broad market, and then I got some names that were requested. So I'll go over those real quick, and then we'll get into my list real quick. So broad market, you got right now on your screen, you got SPX. This is the SPX daily chart. I was fully expecting for us to pull back, as of last week. And this is the daily chart. As of last week, I was hoping for a pullback into the 20-day moving average. I did want it to kind of chill around this area, but once it hit that 20, it gapped into making all new highs. And then on Friday, it gapped up and made a new high, and then kind of like went sideways a bunch. So not necessarily what we expected, but the trend is still intact. Lower highs and higher lows and higher highs still intact. So it looks like we might continue with that. Now that we've made a new high, I would be interested in SPX pulling back into this 50-48 level, or let's just round it up to 50-50, just so that I can have a test of previous high, previous resistance, see if it can act as current support. So I'll be interested in seeing that, right? Next one is QQQ. I was looking at QQQ on a weekly, and I think that the weekly looks extremely interesting. SPX making all new highs. Obviously, QQQ did pop out and make a new high, but it's not. If you look at SPX weekly, it's much, much stronger, right? Much stronger. Big broke through this previous resistance and with gusto, right? Versus QQQ, not as much. It's kind of lingering around the same area. Now, there is sort of a broadening formation that's happening right now with QQQ on the weekly. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark that. That would be something just interesting to watch for the next couple of weeks. Not sure if it's going to 100% play out. What's happening here? I just said it there. What's happening? Okay. Not exactly sure how it's going to play out, or if it'll play out, or for how long it'll play out. But it's just something that's interesting to watch for us. So that is QQQ on the weekly. Let's go to the daily real quick. So on the daily, we did break below the 20-day moving average. And let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. So we did break below the 20-day moving average here, this blue line. And then buyers stepped in and brought it right back up. It looks like there's some support sitting at this area here. Now, actually looking at these two candlesticks, it looks like there might be a potential for a very small demand zone here. So interesting to see. Broke up, continue to move. I think NVIDIA played a major part in this gap up, market-wide gap up, right? So I want to see how that shakes out. Now, we are at the top of a broadening, which usually means that we're going to pull back. However, usually this will go and touch the level before it pulls back. So something to watch, And again, I don't necessarily know where things are going to go. If you look at the 4-hour, you can see the price a little bit more fluidly without the gaps. So price is kind of just bouncing around. Made a new low here, right? Fresh new low out of this formation, and made a new high on this day, pre-market on Friday. So we'll see. We'll see where the buyers want to step in. We'll see who remains in control right now. It looks like sellers are in control on the 4-hour chart, where we formed this inside bar and broke down to the downside. So it looks like we might pull back a little bit more, but let's see. I'm not gonna call it until I see it. Right. Let's go back to the daily. Next one is XLE. XLE broke out of this consolidation underneath the 200-day moving average, broke up, pulled back, and retested this previous resistance as support and kind of bounced. Didn't really quite make the full move yet, but it is showing signs of life. Putting in a green day on a red day, a green candlestick on a red day is a show of strength for XLE. As you know, XLE is usually inverse of the market, or not really the market, but more QQQ. So QQQ goes one way, XLE usually goes the opposite direction. So if we get any kind of pullback in tech, which again, we're in the potential broadening. So if we do get any kind of pullback in tech, XLE names will be the first ones to watch, right? Whenever you see a red day, I go straight to my few names that I like to watch. Exxon, what's the other one? Chevron. I like, few names I can rely on that are going to put money in our pocket. But again, I wouldn't really, XLE, I wouldn't really waste too much energy and time on it. It's good to watch it because once, if this candlestick breaks above these two levels and kind of works its way into this level up here, up above 87.50, then we can really, find a lot of strength in like XOM. So you just use this ticker XLE as an indicator for what might potentially happen with the rest of with the rest of the names within that sector, right? So, and I think it's set up very nicely. Like if you look at XOM real quick, it has a similar setup. If you look at Oxy, it has a similar setup, right? Oxy has a little bit more strength. Oxy hasn't broken through the 200-day moving average yet, so Oxy will, when it does, it will show a lot of strength. Same thing with CVX. CVX hasn't quite, it's been struggling with that 200-day moving average. But if we do get a red day in tech, this thing might go nuts, especially like strong move up and then kind of consolidation over here. 4 or 5 days of just sideways price with a nice hammer at the end of the move, strong hammer at the end of the move, it can push price a little bit higher. So those are going to be names to watch for energy, as long as maybe, if tech shows any kind of weakness, then that's going to be play. Next one's XLF. Let's look at XLF on a weekly. XLF has been showing absolute strength. If you look at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, or some of the other bank names, some of the smaller names, you'll see that there's a bunch of strength in this sector right now. And I think that, what I like about strength in the financial sector is, I'm not sure what the relationship with crypto is right now with the financial sector. I know there's some stuff brewing in the financial sector that's not necessarily tied to the market. And some changes in how they process payments and the amount of money that they need to hold for every dollar that they lend. Those kind of conventions are changing a little bit. I'm not sure how all of this is related, but I will say that in terms of the chart, this is a very strong chart. Obviously, on a weekly, it's been on an absolute tear. Kind of went sideways a little bit here and just continued after JPM earnings a couple of weeks back. So here are your levels for XLF. Obviously, if we do get above that 41.70, then it's like everything's off the table at that point, right? JP Morgan's one of those names that you're going to watch. Goldman Sachs, obviously, another name you want to watch. Let's see. Let me just make sure. and then Russell 2000, IWM. I really like where IWM is right now. I think that, so like this was a level where we couldn't break a bunch of times, right? It kind of like stalled on the way down and then it always rejects every time it's been here on the way up. We finally broke above it, came down back below it, consolidated around it, and then now we're working our way above it, right? Now, what I like about this on a weekly is we're forming an inside bar on a weekly with a green candlestick. And again, real quick, another point that I wanted to make about, and it ties into this ticker as well. Another quick point I wanted to make about XLF is that XLF is showing this crazy strength, right? And you look at the weekly, this weekly is just like strong move after strong move after strong move versus QQQ. Obviously QQQ has been going nuts, but this past couple of weeks, it's been going sideways for the past 3 weeks. Versus XLF has just been going vertical. And again, IWM, kind of sideways, but making strong moves. The point is, I like how XLF is showing strength because that means that it's not just tech that's running SPX right now. It's not tech that's bringing the market up right now. If it's only tech bringing the market, that means that the broad market is showing weakness while tech is showing strength. And what that means is if tech fails, then the rest of the market just collapses pretty much. Right now, tech is kind of in a holding pattern. You saw QQQ going sideways for 3 weeks. but the market continues to go higher. So it's not like the market is at threat of falling once tech dies. Once financials die, maybe energy picks up. Once that dies, maybe retail picks up, maybe housing, right? Maybe manufacturers, maybe goods, maybe tech, right? So there's like, it's not in tech's hands right now. So tech, during a time of uncertainty, the past couple of weeks, Nvidia earnings, Apple, Tesla, Google earnings, etc. It's not all on tech's hands, which is good. It's good for the broader market. That means that the market overall is going up, not just one sector. IWM looks really good on this weekly inside bar. Let me get rid of this line here. Weekly inside bar looks really good. Nice bounce off the 20-day moving average. We got that 50 that's sitting there as support. So I think that this looks like it's better position to go up, especially if you look at this pattern right here. Price came down, buyer stepped in and brought it back up. Broke through previous area of rejection, and then came back down, consolidated. So it's kind of like a cup and handle, or almost like a triple tap, right? And now I'm kind of working its way into new highs. Let's look at the daily on this real quick. Yeah, this daily looks really nice. I mean, we went sideways pretty much all last week. And now if we break up above this level at $201.14, we were in the previous week's territory, in the highs of the previous week, uncharted territory for last week, right? So, and I think the 20 and the 50 there are a good spot of support for this. So I'm interested in seeing it above this level into 204.77. Above that, we can get into, where's my pivot? It's way back here. Above that, we can get into like the 209 and 210. So I'll be interested in seeing IWM working its way up to those levels next week. All right, so let's get into, actually, before we get into my names, let's look at UPS real quick. Now, UPS has a beautiful gap fill after earnings gap down. Earnings gap down was an exaggeration, in my opinion. So, as you can see, it kind of fell down. Price retraced. It didn't break this low here or this low, right? It formed a higher low, which is bullish, and it retraced, came back, made a new higher low, and now it's kind of consolidated before it popped and made a new high from this formation, right? So we're like expanding this range, this new range post earnings here to the upside. Now it can easily reject this area. I don't know how many sellers are sitting in this level here, but it can easily reject this area and come down and make a new low, broaden down, maybe retest some of these levels. But right now it's showing a lot of strength, good consolidation on this candlestick, between these two candlesticks, and then a nice breakout move to the upside, and then rejection on a red day, right? So really we want to see how it responds to like a regular market day, not necessarily a red day or a doji or anything. But I do like this gap to the upside. I think that 50-day moving average is a target, which is about a $5 move. So I would be watching out for break above day high. We can go test that 50, right? And then below this, I mean, we got the 200 sitting right here with 3 days of support and previous resistance here, and support also in the past. So I don't think if we do break down below, I don't think we go lower than Thursday's candlestick. So I think the risk reward ratio favors the upside, right? I think it favors the upside. I think that we maybe set our entry at the high, we set our low at the low of day, call it that, right? And then if you want a multi-week swing, you can set it at the 200. I would go for this 160 first before anything else. Is 160.07. But the very, very first target we're going to try to get is that 50-day moving average for UPS. So very, very nice setup to the upside. Let's see how it holds up on UPS. The next one is, let's look at Costco. Costco's on my list as well, so I'm going to remember to scratch it out. Actually, Costco and then low. You know what? Those two on my list, and I'm not gonna remember to not go over it again. So let me just go through my list real quick, very, very quick. Amazon. Let's do the weekly. So Amazon's currently within this broadening formation, as you see here. Price is working its way higher and lower. I was expecting it to not gap up the way that it did, but it did, and so here we are. Amazon had a positive earnings. And then also it had a decent effect towards some of the other companies such as Melly, who reported earnings. Right now, Amazon looks like it formed a engulfing candlestick. Let me just check. 175.39 is the high. 165.75 is the low. It broke down the low by 1 penny, and it broke above the high by about 20 something cents, 30 cents. 35 cents. So this is a bullish engulfing candlestick. Now, it didn't close above all this price. It didn't close above the previous highs, but it did close above the previous closes, right? And this closed above the previous open of the previous week. So this is just very, very strong price action. I think that Amazon, as long as it holds that level at 175, um, it can work its way into the 180s. I have high hopes for Amazon. Let me, you know, there's a lot going on within Amazon in terms of, yeah, and then tomorrow's going to be their first day included in Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's right. So there's a lot riding in Amazon right now. They've restructured some of the ways that they partner up with their third party sellers. They're into the healthcare space now, so it's just an interesting time for Amazon. I think the last thing that Amazon wants to do, or let me rephrase that. I think that the last thing that Amazon needs to do, in order to get a rush of buyers, is talk about dividends. And I think that them joining the Dow Jones it brings them closer to that, right? Now this is a weekly chart. This I remember like trading Amazon, back here, and then I remember it being untradeable this whole entire time, pretty much, right? Obviously, you wanted to try to catch it up and down, try to catch some of these moves, but this range right here was just disgusting. And ever since it fell, we've kind of been trading it up and down, more up than down, right? I don't really like trading Amazon down, but uh, so where we are now, I think that we break into this range where sellers are kind of sitting. I think that we've earned enough motion to the downside that maybe we can break to the upside on this range. I'm targeting 180 for this week. 180 will put us. Let me just see. Yeah, so 180 will put us right above this pivot over here on the weekly. So 170, that's 177.61. I want to see it close above that for some strength. You see how buyers step in every time we get to the kind of this level right here, here. It acted as support here, but they didn't really work. Rejected here, rejected on these 2 weeks as well. So that 177.61 is going to be the key level. You can take a risky entry above the week high for 180 calls, or you can wait until it breaks 177.61 and then from there try to get into 180 calls. Amazon is relatively inexpensive, so you can even put a bunch of time on it, and maybe 2-3 weeks, maybe March 15th is what we'll probably be targeting for this one, and find some positivity. Now, I think we're actually already in the 180 calls for. So yeah, I'm looking at it right here. Amazon 315 180 calls. The thesis hasn't changed at all. It's found its support, so that just kind of benefits us. This call is from where is it from? February 16th. So it's about 10 days. Starting tomorrow, it'll be 10 days worth of us being in this play. So this full week and then this week. So I think we're back to we're just like I don't know, 30 cents above what we paid for it or whatever. I think that it'll make the 180 by this week, depending on what the rest of the market does. But it's really positioned very, very well to hit 180 this week. Next one's NVIDIA. NVIDIA is right now making all new highs. Really, what I want to mention with NVIDIA is, and I'm gonna have to figure out some new fib formations here. I'll probably do it tomorrow, because it's gonna take some time. But and it might just be as simple as this. Let me just quickly get a trend based fib. Can I get a trend based fib? Where's my trend based fib? There it is. Yeah, I mean, it might just be like this. All right. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to just draw these willy nilly because they, when it comes to like future price, it really makes a difference. You can't just really draw willy nilly. You draw from the beginning of the trend to the end, to the pullback, the point where it stops in the pullback area, which happens to be right on that 20-day moving average, and then bullish engulfing on a weekly, which is just bullish. Everything on this is bullish. So here's some new levels. Take them with a grain of salt. I'm going to go ahead and revisit this tomorrow, but the whole point of this is bullish engulfing on Amazon weekly, on NVIDIA weekly. Earnings came out and NVIDIA did what it had to do. Now let's see how many people, and now is like the time of the year where all your relatives hit you up like, oh, how do you feel about NVIDIA? Are you bullish on NVIDIA? Do you think it's going to go higher? Do you think it's a good time to get in, et cetera, et cetera? Usually it's not. I have a feeling with NVIDIA, it can go higher. I think there's an AI squeeze happening, obviously, for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I think that we haven't even really seen the start of it. I think NVIDIA can probably get to 1,000 in the next couple of months. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but that the whole thing that I wanted to point out was that bullish engulfing, very, very, very strong on Nvidia. Next one is CVS. CVS on the weekly, we got an inside bar. After I really like this setup. This, you guys know I like to get into things I think a little earlier than most. I like to park myself in the move. I think that's good for swings. So you'll see maybe a CVS swing. Actually, I think there was a CVS swing. Let me just check. Hold on. I don't know if it was a swing or if it was a play for the week. Let's see. Yeah, 77 and a half calls. 77 and a half calls for March 15th at $1.64, put out on the 21st, which was Monday, I believe, or Tuesday, the 21st, whatever day that was. Let's see. So I still like it. Nothing has changed. Yeah, Wednesday the 21st. I still like it. Nothing has changed. Wednesday it touched that 50-day moving average, broke above the previous range high on the day. Same thing on Friday. Price keeps going higher and higher. But I think price is extremely explosive where it's at, based on all this price here, pretty much stuck within the range of this one candlestick. It came to a point where it retested the 50-day and then bounced. And so I think price is going to get very, very explosive, and it's just a matter of time. March 15th is not very far. March 15th is, let me go ahead and just put a long position on it. Let's just put it there. You obviously set your stop at the 50-day, or you could set it at the low of this candlestick on Wednesday. March 15th is, and we don't have too much time, but there's just enough time where CVS can break out, right? It can break out. So that's what I'm looking for. I just want to review that. I think that it's still set up very, very nicely. And I think that, even if you try to get in, you haven't got in and you want to get in tomorrow, you might even get it for a better price than what we listed it on Wednesday. So very, very nice setup. JP Morgan's been going on a tear. It did pull back on this week and then kind of worked its way down, filled this gap right here, and has been ripping ever since. I think JP Morgan will be at 195 within the next couple of weeks. With JP Morgan, I probably want to draw a trend-based fib as well. I hate doing these on a fly like this, but I'll review these next week. This one looks not bad, only because you got the rip, you got the A to the B, you got the B down, pull back to C, and then from C, wherever the D is going to land you. Usually it does rip to the entire move, but I'm going to sit back tomorrow and review it. But what I like about this particular one is this week it went sideways on this Fibonacci, and then the next week it retested the Fibonacci as support until it moved into the next level, and then it rejected the next level. So this looks like it's not bad. JPM, I think, is again in a good position to continue the move. If you like trend-based fib, trend-based fib has worked out. Look at NVIDIA. Trend-based fib worked out for NVIDIA when we drew it way back here. Pay attention to the yellow one. Obviously, you draw it when it gets to like this point, and then from there you kind of like see where price goes, and it reacts to every single point on it. We drew a little mini one here. And prices hit every single point on the consolidated rip, right? Every single one. And it even came back to retest this one as support. So if you like it, I think it's a useful tool. I think that everybody should learn how to use it, even if you just want to set some future, especially when you want to set future targets. Like there's no way of knowing what the future resistance levels are going to be for JPM since it's at all-time high, but the algorithms trade using a lot of Fibonacci. So Fibonacci, I think, is a very, very useful tool. Next one's Tesla. Tesla has a bunch of catalysts listed in the trade floor, posted by DYT. Let's see. Margins report. There's a bunch of stuff. Just check it out. DYT posted on the trade floor 357 this week. And then for anybody who, for anyone who is not in our server, let me see if I can. There you go. For anyone who's not in our server, DYT posted this earlier today. So you got Tesla Catalyst, you got stable auto gross margins first quarter, 7,500 EV instant rebate going on, right? New Elon Musk compensation plan. Fed's pivot on interest rates in the second quarter. So second quarter, we're supposed to get a decrease in rates, which is going to be beneficial not only to the auto industry, but to the home buying industry and banks. Banks are going to love that because they get more volume into their doors. So there's a bunch of catalysts occurring for Tesla this week. So or this next couple of weeks. So I'll be very interested in seeing how price shakes out for Tesla. Now, what I like about Tesla, and let me just look at my notes. We're good. Okay. Tesla, let's look at it on the daily. So Tesla, what I like about Tesla is we have a potential inverse head and shoulders here. I called out some play, it was a couple weeks ago, that kind of ripped on this candlestick because of the inverse head and shoulders. Now we're kind of pulling back and looking for support where there was previous resistance. We haven't fully filled the gap. So I think that Tesla's going to do whatever it can to continue to work its way into this gap, right? We are forming this higher low right now. It also looks like we have an inside day. Yeah, so we did form an inside day. Price didn't break above the range of Thursday. So that's going to be something very interesting to watch. Now, I think everyone's very bearish on Tesla. I think that Tesla is a good buy right now, even if it's, especially for like leaps or longer dated plays, maybe June calls, maybe November calls. The one thing that I am a little bit scared of, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it shakes out, but I just don't want to get anybody into like calls for later contracts if this thing has more pullback in it, because who knows, right? But that's the one thing I'm scared of, is like it's like sitting right on top of that rising support line. I'm actually gonna bring this down because I like symmetry. So it's currently wedging prices, and especially the inside day here, prices is bound to break to the upside or downside. I like upside because it does have that gap. It has been forming higher lows on a weekly, or on the daily rather, and we had that inverse head and shoulders with price kind of consolidating at the highs of the neckline. So it looks good. Let's revisit it tomorrow. Netflix. I like Netflix on a weekly a lot, and the reason why, you guessed it, inside bar. So we got a nice strong move to the upside, good consolidation, nice pop into earnings, even with a negative report. Right, negative report, but they are talking money. So the investors like what they said, and prices continuing to go up. Now we got this nice little strong bull flag. Prices flagging these next couple of weeks, right? Inside bar, and then kind of broke the range to the downside, and then buyers stepped in and brought it right back up because we love the stock. All this is very, very interested buyers. And now we got the inside bar. So I'm looking for the inside bar. I think I had puts on it for like a day. But I do like the inside bar. Obviously, you got a predetermined range with the inside bar. And the 20-day moving average is sitting right here. Support, let's switch to the daily. 20-day sitting right here on this blue level. And you see we kind of bounced when we found, when we saw it in our sights. Price came right back up. Now, we do have some sellers sitting in this area. Bunch of sellers sitting in this area. You see how big this candle is, and it changed. It kind of like reversed the upside motion. There is a small little gap right here that might be filled at some point in the future. But I do like, point of the story is, I do like Netflix. I like it for a move. I would love for it to continue, especially since it's inside the upper range of the previous candlestick. Let me just zoom out for some perspective. We are quite high, and I think Netflix. Netflix is just around its all-time high. So, good strength ever since we kind of reversed back here in June of 2022. And there is some gaps to fill down here, but, I think that where it's at, it looks like it wants to go higher. Let's see what happens. Next one is TSM. TSM, what I like about this is we got a nice little, double top here on a weekly. And then, we're not also not far off from it, right? This is 141.89-ish where the double top is, and price is at 129, so about $20 away from all-time high. We got a nice, decent sized move with, higher highs and higher lows. And then we got a nice strong move here with some sideways, good consolidation, inside bar breakout to the upside, rip to the upside. This was a move fueled by a lot of the other earnings. And now we had a little bit of a pullback last week, just as we did with every other name in QQQ and QQQ itself. And now we have a lot of buying pressure. I like breaking the range down and buyers stepping in and bringing the price back higher. I like that. That shows me that buyers are interested in bringing the price higher overall, right? Price goes up, it came down, and then it ripped through right through that falling resistance level, and it's kind of parked in this area. So really, we want to see it trading above this level here, trading above 130, 140. Where it's like, and yes, we did break this falling resistance line, but there is a lot of resistance sitting in this level here. As you can see, price was pushed back down, gapped up, and came and got pushed back down. A little bit of buying pressure at the end of this. So again, I just want to see it above this level here. From there, we can get to 133.51, and then from there to 135, and then from there into the 140s. The 140s are going to be very, very interesting for TSM because obviously this is very, very close to all-time high. Next one is DKS. DKS on the weekly is an absolute animal, absolute monster. And I've been like talking about DKS for months and months and months and months and months. And look at what it's been doing all this time, right? So I think there's a continuation in it. Obviously, it broke above the previous high. Is this all-time high for DKS? This is all-time high for DKS. So I think that we go even higher, right? As long as we hold this level here, I think that we go even higher. I do expect a little bit of pullback just because this is all-time high, and people are going to take profits. DKS is a dividend-paying stock, so if anybody likes to own dividend companies, this is a good one, especially because it moves like a growth stock. Again, this is a very rough trend-based fib, but if it continues to move, and you got some levels here to watch out for. 200, I think, is the ultimate level for DKS, and then from there we'll kind of see where things go. But again, very, very strong move. Very happy for DKS. So next one is Coinbase. Coinbase gave you, let's go back just for some context, good sideways movement for almost 2 years. Broke out on the triple tap, right? One tap here, two tap here. Here's a third tap breakout. And then not only that, but it broke out and then it came and retraced right back to the previous resistance, found support and bounced. Strong bounce, made a new yearly high, right? New yearly high, new 52-week high. And then now we're in that kind of pullback level. Coinbase broke down below the previous low, or these lows that I had marked here. The low of this day. This was Friday. It broke down below the low of Friday, below the pivot, which I think I was looking for it to hold that pivot, but it didn't. And then it came and tested the previous Thursday's low and kind of found support on it. So I think that since it didn't break down below the low on three chances rather, one chance, two chance, three chances to break down. And since it hasn't, I think that it's going to work its way back up. So I'll be watching Coinbase this week for calls. Calls for Coinbase. Next one is, and again, I don't know how closely tied Coinbase is to Bitcoin right now. I really haven't been watching Bitcoin, if I'm being honest with you. I've just been, if you like it, I would say buy it. If you don't like it, I would just say stick to what you know, which is probably equities and options, since you're in this, watching this video right now or watching this live. I like Uber. What Uber is doing, I like how it is making a new high for the year and then going sideways and not just immediately falling. I just want to double check that Uber is not. Yeah, this is a new high for Uber. So, or this has been all new highs for Uber. So, I like how it hasn't just ripped up and then ripped straight back down. Is actually discovering price and staying within this zone. So it gives us nice targets to look out for above and below the high and low of Friday's price action, right? So it's up to you where you want it to go. Positive earnings usually leads to positive earnings drift. They beat on both ends. And then I think Lyft might have some earnings or something coming up I don't know if it's earnings or a catalyst. Yeah, I think it's a catalyst because earnings happened a couple of weeks back. But Uber and Lyft, they're not the same exact business, but they're very, very close, right? They're very, very close. If you bring it down to the car and data business, driver arbitrage, yes. But then once you start thinking about like the delivery services, and then Lyft has partnerships with airlines and stuff like that, so it gets a little bit tricky. But anyway, I think that Uber, it just looks very nice, clear targets to the upside and downside, decent risk reward in both directions. So let's just, if you're interested in Uber, go ahead and set your alert for the high and low of Friday's price action, Friday's candlestick. and then just take it from there. Next one's Visa. Visa on the weekly, absolute monster. Um, Visa on the weekly has been an absolute monster for quite some time. If you follow macroeconomics, lending, credit card borrowing has been at the highest it has been in a very, very long time. And that's due to obviously inflation rates. Everything is very, very expensive. So people are putting more stuff on their card. And because of that, Visa's business is flourishing. So if you are somebody who uses credit cards and you want to get some of your, get some of that back, go ahead and throw some money into buying shares of Visa or MasterCard or Amex. So you can get whoever it is that you deal with, let them pay you back a little bit, right? Visa also pays dividends. So, so I was looking at Visa. They had this moment here where they kind of made this new high, went sideways, expanded the range of this candlestick to the upside and downside, and then buyers stepped in and just brought it straight up. So I think there's a continuation here. If I do a fast and dirty trend based off of this candlestick, I'll pull it back to here, and those are your levels for Visa. I think that Visa can get to 300 pretty quickly. Depending on what happens with now, if the Fed is aiming for interest rates to go down as they are, then that might negatively affect Visa's business because Visa's prime rate will end up going, the overall Federal Reserve prime rate goes down, and then Visa ultimately, like not necessarily right away, but the amount of capital that people borrow eventually goes down. Although that might be like a 2 or 3 quarters behind the actual move. So just something to think about. If the rates go down, borrowing goes slightly down. Although if rates go down, people are going to use some of these products to borrow cars and to borrow money for cars and to borrow money for homes and to borrow money for vacations and stuff like that. So people spend a little bit more money freely. So it's almost like a win-win for Visa. Same thing. They might get less people, or they might lend. They might get less interest on what they lend, but they're going to get more people borrowing. So the volume will make up for the lesser amount of interest that they're making. So interesting. One to watch. Next one's Costco. Costco is at all-time highs and making fresh new highs every day. Now, for perspective, Costco has been wedging here in this price wedge for a couple of years, almost 2 years before it finally broke out. Pulled back a little bit, came back, bounced 2 times on this previous resistance level here at $542.60, and then from there has never seen 500 ever again. Right, bounced off the 20-day moving average and is continuing to move. Costco probably gets to 750 this week. Now, again, I'm gonna do a fast and dirty on this, but I just don't know. I don't know. I really have to sit and analyze it, but I think 750 for sure this week. If the good times keep rolling. They have earnings coming up on the 7th of March, which is in 2 weeks. So maybe there's a potential for a run-up, especially since Costco hasn't changed the price of their hot dog, even through all this increased, interest rate increase and rate hike and all that stuff. So I think there's going to be a nice run-up there. So maybe 750s for this week, maybe 770s for March 15th is probably what we'll look at. Yeah, earnings on 3.7. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. I think there's going to be a run-up. And I like Costco. Costco, I think, is it's a good company. I like the stock too. I like the way it moves. I like the way it pays us. So now these next couple of names are going to be a little bit, they look different. Like everything else that we've looked at is like up and pulling back and then continuing up. This is not up and pulling back and continuing up. This is in a downtrend, right? We're forming lower highs and lower lows. Fresh new low after earnings. I think that above 58.50 we can target, and this is going to be like a fast play. Like this is going to be like very, very fast play. What I'm looking for is this. I'm looking for, let's just say here, down, up somewhere, maybe not all the way to 200, right? But something like that, right? Maybe back to this level here at $50. You see where all that price is consolidating down here at $50. I don't want to catch this whole move. I just want to catch the bounce. I think that Twilio has a nice little bounce in it. Twilio, again, it's like the tech services sector. So, and there's something like not quite right with that sector right now. There's a bunch of layoffs and stuff going on. as people get laid off, the amount of licenses they purchase from Twilio and Zscaler and all that goes down. So uh, I think there's a bounce just on a technical, especially since we got that bullish engulfing on Friday. Right, price went below the range of Thursday's candlestick and ripped above. We got a nice two down, two up, three candlestick. So I think that followed by three candlestick is probably going to be another two candlesticks. So just like one more candle right here, and maybe like a little slowdown, maybe another candle right here just to retest some of this. I think that 60 is in the books for Twilio for this week. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm not trying to take the whole move. I'm just trying to take this little bounce, wherever we can get. Maybe one more day, 2 more days out of Twilio. Next one is DocuSign. DocuSign looks very, very similar to Twilio. DocuSign was putting in, and some of Kathy Wood names have been putting in decent moves this past couple of weeks. The reason why I know is because I've been using the Kathy has resurrected. Kathy's, rising from the dead or whatever a couple of times this past few weeks. So it puts me on notice when I do stuff like that, that things are occurring in that sector. I want to see DocuSign above 52. We can target that 54 call, rip above, put one candlestick right here, and that'll be the end of that. 1 day move, maybe 2 day move. If you look at it on the weekly looks nice too. Why? Because we fell hard inside bar here, and then we did open below, but we ripped and almost took out the high. So not necessarily bullish engulfing, but a very bullish price action based on the weekly move. And we ripped below the 200 day here. We consolidated on it 3 days, and then we ripped on Friday, where everything else was going down. DocuSign was going up. So I do like DocuSign. I want to see it into this gap here. It can really fill that gap very, very quickly. Next one's HLT. HLT on the daily, insane. It's funny because this particular ticker has been on our watch list call for 20 something weeks, 10, 15 something weeks. And I've only called it out in the gold mine once. So I don't know. During the day, it doesn't really call my attention. Like you look at the 15-minute and it's just like moving up so boringly slow, but also just making so much money. Like nice strong move. Even like on a day where it pulls back and it really ended with a nice strong move. Even like on a 3 day swing, you got nice, good price action. It's just really good price action, right? So maybe this is one, especially now, like you see how strong it opened up on Thursday and kind of like finished pretty strong, but then kind of pulled back to retrace some of it. And then Friday ripped and then kind of went sideways all day. So I like this strong move, little pullback, strong rip, sideways. So if we take these highs out, this is a 15-minute chart. If we take these highs out, after strong move pullback, strong move sideways, take the highs out, that's going to be strong move, maybe 209 or something, right? On within the next couple of days, maybe tomorrow and maybe Tuesday. The bookings.com had earnings. It says travel demand is normalizing. Yeah, I guess. Let's see. There's a bunch of craziness going on in the airline industry. Like it feels like every other week there's some news about planes parts coming off of the planes or whatever. But anyway, I think this ticker has shown so much strength, and then we got a nice consolidation with a nice little spring here. Previous resistance rip. So I think that there's more. I just think there's more. Maybe 205, maybe 207, maybe 210 in the next couple of weeks. So I'll be interested in watching that. AMD on the weekly. Not necessarily. I don't know if it's ready for the move just yet. It's all-time high for AMD. AMD also is kind of broadening out, right? It's not the cleanest, and I'm just drawing it at really an arbitrary place, but it's not the cleanest, but price is working its way higher and lower within this range here. It did bounce just like everything else did on Thursday, pull back on Friday. I want to see it trading above Thursday's volume before I get very interested in this. So I think 182.58 is the level that we're going to watch. I'm going to go ahead and add my alert to it. Above that level, we can start to if we can close above that level and hold it, that means that we're in the territory of this candlestick here where it was all-time high. Let me get rid of this. Actually, what was that? 188.66. That's my final target. 188.66 is my final target for the move that I was looking for. 188. Let's just call it 63. That's fine. Right. That's what I'll be looking for with AMD once it continues that move. And I think that, it didn't happen on this day, but I think all the sideways price, let's look at the 2-day. All the sideways price will bring it up a little bit higher. It'll give it some momentum to rip to the upside. So we'll see what happens with AMD. It can also reject the broadening and work its way into the 20 and then from there into the 50. However, it can't. I just don't know. And I don't want to paint my bias. If NVIDIA keeps going, AMD's going to keep going. If LRCX keeps going, AMD's going to keep going. TSM, AMD, right? SMCI, AMD, right? So I like Starbucks. Let's look at Starbucks. Starbucks has a nice round bottom. Price is it got slowly and progressively lower, and now it's working its way to getting slowly and progressively higher. We got the 20 about to cross the 50 for a very small golden cross, and prices worked its way to make all new highs, inside bar here, and then new high, new high, new high. It put in a red day on a red day, so I want to see kind of where we land on Monday and Tuesday. Now, if we do break down below the low of day, I would target that 50-day moving average as my support level, my bounce level, my exit for my puts. But if we do break above the day high, look, all the volume, and let's just look at this on a smaller time frame. All the volume for Starbucks is sitting right in this level here. Let me just go ahead and mark it with a box. All the volume is sitting right here. So if Starbucks can hold that low of day, or even if it pulls back to where this consolidation is here at 95.52, from there work its way above these volume, these points of control here, these 2 days, those two green lines. From there 96, and then from there we can get to 97.14 very, very quickly, and even 97.50 with the 200-day moving averages. Now the 200-day moving average is the final target for this small move before we can see, hey, what's it going to do? Is it going to continue? Is it going to pull back? What's it going to do? Right? Back to the daily. We haven't been at the 200 in a while. The closest we got was, this day was just a nasty red day, nasty day. And then this day we got another bunch of selling pressure before we switched the trend back down. So the 200 is going to be the one to watch, right? I don't know if it's going to continue to move through the 200 or if it's going to pull back and just kind of go sideways a bunch. But this gap has been filled. This gap here has been filled, well filled, which is why I think all this price is going sideways like that. So we'll see. I like the curl up. I will continue to watch it. And when it's ready, I'll put out a play on it. Next one is CAT. CAT on the weekly looks very nice. What I love about CAT on a weekly, also, I believe this is all-time high for CAT. Yes, this is all-time high for CAT. Interest rates going down is going to be beneficial for this industry too, because that means that people are going to start building again. It might be like 2 3/4 down the line, but and the earnings for the motion that comes out of that might not come out for another year or so. But we like CAT. We like this inside bar on CAT weekly. We like that it's a green bar because that means it's probably going to continue to move and break to the upside. You did get your pullback, and then you got 2 sideways candlesticks. We couldn't break the range, continue breaking the range down. So some indecision on between these 2 weeks, and now we can probably work our way into making a new high. So are we looking at 335s, which are about $10 away, but I think 2 weeks is enough to get to 335. And then we'll be watching CAT for potential earnings. They got earnings on the 25th of April. So expect CAT to be on the radar for a little bit. Next one's X. X on a daily, absolute monster. Now X did get this gap up, and then I was looking at it back here. I had a bunch of levels set, and then it just kind of went sideways a bunch. Then it broke down through the lows of this range here rather, and it broke down and it found its support here, came back down, went sideways a bunch, and now it's working its way back up. It looked like it was just waiting for the 50 to catch up, because look, once the 50 caught up, it started working its way up. So price is above the 50 now. I want to see it work its way into That 48.40 above 48.40, we could target this 48.95, and then from there we got 49.46 and $50.20. So 50 calls for April or March are probably going to be in, maybe April. April seems more feasible, but just to keep things in a perspective here, I just want to go ahead and put that on there. A little bit higher there. That's good. We can easily reject the resistance line and then fall back down. So I'll be interested in watching it. I want to see what it does at this line. If it rips through this line, it's going straight for 48. So keep that in mind for X. Next one's Baba. I like Baba on the weekly. I think that, it almost has like an inverse head and shoulders vibe going on over here. What I love about it is we had this inside bar that formed 2 weeks ago from the candlestick of 3 weeks ago. Inside bar last week, we broke to the upside. China is currently in a bullish mode where they're bolstering their stocks, their public companies. So Baba's going to benefit straight up. It's just that easy, right? Let me see if they say anything about it here. Okay, so it looks like Alibaba is taking a little bit of ownership or more ownership of Credit Suisse's China unit. And then I remember there being news a couple of days ago about China just, if you sell stock, you're gonna get prosecuted essentially, which is wild, right? Some wild concept. But us here who aren't necessarily directly affected by it just yet, right? Not yet. Let's make money while we can, because that wave, we're gonna get affected by it at some point. I think that above day high, we could target the high of the last couple of weeks, which is at 78.34. Above that, we got 79.71. So maybe some 80 calls from March 15th will be the play. Let me actually remind myself of that. Baba's good to catch on a weekly, but when you can swing and get some good momentum on it, then you'll be happier. Next one's Disney. Disney on the daily. I really just love this candlestick at the bottom of this. We got the gap up on earnings, price discovering to the upside, price coming back to discover to the downside. It broke down below the range of this candlestick, but buyers stepped in and brought it back up, right? So we got the inside bar here, breakdown, bunch of buyers stepping up. If you can't break down, guess where we're going? Back up, right? So nice and easy play here, potentially. Potential pivot machine gun loading here as well. So we'll see what's up with it. I like Disney to the upside. I don't know if they necessarily have anything in the works for them to make a lot of money. Former CFO, I guess they got somebody new. Reliance Industries Limited signed a binding pact to merge their media operations in India, which brings Disney's costs down slightly. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Actually, let me click on this. Let me see if there's more info. So it looks like the external partners have the most equity in that deal. It's not Disney. It's the external partner that has a little bit more equity, which they probably bought by taking on more responsibility. So, and they probably know the market better at the end of the day, right? So very, very interesting for Disney. Next one's BBY, earnings this week. Best Buy or Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh, Best Buy, my bad. Best Buy. The 29th, which is in, Thursday, 3 days, 4 days. Let's go to is this the daily? Let's go to the week. Oh no, I have it here for the daily. All right, so what I like about it, higher highs, right? Slowly getting higher lows. There is a little bit of a price wedge here that I definitely want to point out. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it there. You can see the price wedge on the bottom. Let me just draw it. But But yeah, what I do like about it is that it's at the top. It's right at that falling resistance line. More volume, or all the volume on 70s on a level that's higher than where the volume was in the previous pivot. So price is trending in a direction where it's a little bit higher. We had all new highs of day all last week. So it's got to take its own high out before it can take out the previous high, and then from there we can work on some of these levels, right? Them having earnings this week, I think, is a good catalyst for a move. And then, if I recall correctly, yeah, I mean, price, kind of consolidated, went higher, came down, went lower, came higher. Now it's like forming this new higher low area, and showing some bullish strength. Above the 50-day, above the 200-day, above the 20-day. We need that 20 across through the 50, but really, I think that is going to continue to move up. It's just that simple. It's nothing much more to it than a technical setup. Next one is Baidu. Baidu on a daily, same thing as Baba, right? Just same thing. Baidu usually has a cleaner setup and usually pays a little bit more and faster than Baba does. So I'll just be watching Baidu for the move to the upside. I think that Baidu is probably going to get into the 116 this week, and potentially the 120 by March 15th. I'll be watching Baidu for that. Let's see how long China bull market can last. BMY, I think is just showing strength, right? Inside bar here, break to the upside, continuation move, just show of strength, right? And so here's some of your future targets for BMY. There's a gap above 55.29, and the 200 days right there. So we'll see. We did form a lower low, but we also broke out and made a new high. So let's see what happens with it. Next one is Lowe's. Lowe's is, Lowe's has a little bit of ways to go before it gets to its high, or its all-time high rather. But we do like that Lowe's kind of formed this cup and handle formation. Price has gone way lower. Buyer stepped back in and brought it above the 200-day moving average, and now it's just well above the 200-day moving average after good consolidation. I'm looking at it around this area. I want to see it touch that 233.97. Above that, we got 237. Above that, we got 240 for Lowe's. So Lowe's 240 is probably the play for March 15th. I'm going to have to start looking at April calls pretty soon. Let me go ahead and just bring it down there. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at for Lowe's. I think it's set up nicely. We did get a nice deep pullback here, but price made higher lows here and showing a lot of strength. And the last one that I have is J&J. J&J is just showing a lot of strength right now. It almost has a similar setup to Lowe's. Deep pullback and then good consolidation on these moves. Broke up, new high, pulled back, retested this consolidation. You see this bunch, just illustrate it for you real quick. This bunch here is situated higher than this bunch is, right? This bunch is a little bit slightly higher than this bunch. So the lows are getting higher. Good consolidation move. Strong rip through the 200-day moving average, through this area of resistance. Now we got to get through this area of resistance. So I'm looking at 165 for the next couple of weeks. And that's it, guys. Let's look at ES real quick. ES, I believe, was forming a red candlestick. Yeah, forming a red candlestick as of earlier, and as of now, still forming a red candlestick. But let's see. As long as it holds, and I don't care what the market does. As long as it holds some of these levels, though, it just tells us, all right, it held this level. Good. Now it's going to try to go to the next level. Thank you guys for being on the call with me tonight. If you see anything else, go ahead and just throw it in the chat. And this week, I think, is going to be a very interesting week. Not much going on the front of the economics, but every week there's always a surprise. The quiet weeks get the biggest surprises, and hopefully we don't get too surprised. Hopefully everything goes according to plan this week. So thank you guys for being on a call, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.